listen, while we are all mourning our For You pages and giving a collective bow of silence, let's at least have the discussion of the good, the bad, and the ugly of a TikTok ban. Hello, if you're new here, my name is Danny. I talk about really anything on this channel that really intrigues me. So if you are potentially into nerdy stuff, social stuff, people stuff, really anything, you're in the right place. So the good and bad and ugly of a TikTok ban. I'm going to start off with this just as a baseline. I completely understand both sides of the argument. I understand why many of you, especially creators or small businesses or anybody affected by this, would be greatly upset that there is a TikTok ban. I very much get it, especially because of the precedent it sets for closing other apps in the future, because not only did TikTok go down, but CapCut and Lemonade along with it. And CapCut especially key for editors and really most content creators out here because it's one of the easiest editing apps. I use it to make most of these videos, so I entirely get it. I also understand why a lot of you would very much think it's a good thing. Hey, you know, you're clearing something off your phone, it's been a distraction, it does XYZ to people. I understand why a lot of you would think it's a good or a bad thing, and to tie it all together to make this very muddy sort of circumstance we find ourselves in tonight. Because odds are by the time you're watching this, TikTok has probably stopped working on your device if you live in the United States anyway. So that is why I'm making this video, to talk about the good, the bad, and the middle ground of what a TikTok ban could very much bring for all of us. Let's at least start off with the good, in a sense. TikTok, for as much good as it's done for all of us, kind of encourages the worst parts of social media when we really think about it. Just stick with me here for a second and you might agree. You know how Gen Z and a lot of our newer generations have reportedly had some of the worst attention spans or some of the shortest attention spans out of any generation? I argue that TikTok spearheaded that by leagues and miles. The other apps, you know, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, others, they may have sort of kicked that sort of thing off, but I argue TikTok spearheaded that and accelerated that by a mile. Because think about it. For the most part, when you have 15-second videos, 30-second videos that are providing punchy and quick humor, comedy, information, just general stuff at a much faster pace than what 4,000 word article or a 10-minute YouTube video would say, odds are people are going to gravitate to that are on the younger side of things, looking to get things in an efficient manner, a quick manner, and in a fast manner. So I argue that TikTok definitely accelerated the pace at which we have been reporting these shorter and shorter attention spans over the course of at least the growth stage of Generation Z and Gen Alpha. Definitely, it's become most apparent Gen Alpha and will become more apparent onwards. Another reason we could potentially advocate for a ban of TikTok being a good idea is that TikTok by and large accelerated this whole idea of needing everything to be convenient. This sort of feeds in with the idea of there being shorter and shorter attention spans, but people very much just want things quick, they want things fast, and they most importantly don't want to really think about the things that they need to get. TikTok works perfectly in that regard, because when you think about any real social platform, what should its main goal be at the end of the day? To provide you with a service? Maybe that's what you think, but at the end of the day, they're there to make money. And how do you make the most amount of money? Have users stick around for the most amount of time. And they do that by sending you down a rabbit hole. And they make it so easy to. It's why these algorithms curate these FYPs in such a specific and hyper-realized way. It's why the minute you say something, it feels like it pops up on your FYP. It's because it's meant to engage you, it's meant to hook you. And like any good video does when it hooks you, it's meant to get you invested, engaged, and stick with it. But we already got that part from the short attention spans video thing. Where it mainly feeds in with convenience is that look at most general services that we really advocate for and are provided with nowadays. You see how other stores like Barnes & Noble or even traditional libraries are struggling because most get ebooks or turn to Amazon. You see how most delivery services or most delivery companies wind up having to subsidize their businesses through Amazon. You see how a majority of things that we all would have gone out to a multitude of stores for has now all been consolidated online. meaning that a lot of these stores really have no place anymore. You see how a lot of these delivery apps pop up out of, sure, advertiser will to show you that this is the best way to get food from the specific location. Even if it's 5 minutes away, you could walk and go order it in person and get it cheaper. You're still going to use the apps. And even then, these restaurants are being designed from the inside to the outside to look like places of just sleek, modern amenity and efficiency. Pure convenience. Get it now, get it fast, get out. And TikTok, by and large, advocates for that. Hell, it thrives on that. Because when you're getting things so fast, you're not really thinking about necessarily what you're getting or what you're sacrificing for it. It could be your attention, but it also could be your will to see what other things you could be learning on other platforms. Not to say necessarily things like Google search or YouTube would be better in this case for sharing information than TikTok. There are plenty of creators on there that do amazing work. But by and large, it emphasizes this aspect of we need things conveniently, we need things now, we need things fast, to where we sort of lose track of what we're really getting as far as the content we are consuming as a whole. But if I were to round all this together with a definitive point of why a ban of TikTok could be good, it would be that it opens up this idea of consciousness among the general public when it comes to social aspects as a whole. Because TikTok, for as engaging as a platform as it is, really curates itself towards you, the viewer watching this, and the viewer who, odds are, consumed a lot of TikTok. That's probably how you found your way to this video in specific. And nothing's wrong with that. It's great that TikTok is actually able to curate so well to the individual, but that ends up trapping people only really the content that they see as valuable. And that can be different for a whole lot of people, whether it's objectively harmful or whether it's objectively harmless or whether it's in a weird middle ground. It's still really curating towards what each and every singular person is generally seeing. And while there are definitely big people on TikTok who almost everybody knows and whose videos can spread almost anywhere, for the most part, everybody really is in their own sector of the internet. Echo chambers, as it's usually commonly called. These pockets of internet culture, or these little subsects and groups that you can really insert yourself into and not really have to explore out of. And you can use this content to sort of self-affirm your own biases on certain matters, whether they be really anything, could be any topic. You are able to use these sorts of echo chambers, these pockets of the internet, to verify what you yourself think is the truth based on the content that you are always being shown. And it's that type of use for social media that really traps people sort of in their own way of thinking a lot of the time, because it means that no longer are we sort of in the more centralized stream of popularity where it's easy to see a multitude of different opinions on a lot of things. Although the con to a system like that is that a lot of people are going to end up thinking the same thing, but the fact was there were still discussions for multiple dialects and reports and things of that nature. It's why there's really no such thing as a mainstream anymore. With the way the internet is now, and the way media generally is now, and the whole industry of entertainment, everything's just far too fractured for something to be mainstream. Even the biggest streaming shows, if you look at them at the height of their popularity, really aren't kind of comparable now to where mega successes would be for years as juggernauts, maybe on cable TV or maybe through the early births of streaming. Like, I always use this example. Game of Thrones was such a big thing for so many years because that was just directly in the mainstream of pop culture. And now its own side show, House of the Dragon, is just some sort of side promo show that really only the GOT fan base knows of, from as far as I've seen online. And I've looked through it. I've tried to explore more about House of the Dragon. I could not tell you I've seen much about it. But my wider point for this is that with all of these echo chambers that you can lock yourself into, TikTok has very much made it easier for a lot of people to affirm their own biases on whatever they think of. So potentially a ban coming into place and saying, hey, we do not have this app anymore to sit within only our own opinions, could really force all of us to evaluate how we're consuming entertainment, how we're consuming things online, and how that content or that consumption is really affecting our ability to communicate, our ability to make friends, our ability to socialize, our ability to get out of our own comfort zone, to not weaponize our incompetence, to not accept our circumstances as being bad, to be able to open our mind to all of these different ideas. It takes a unique set of ideals, and that comes through the form of multiple people or multiple channels. So maybe in a sense, I could see how it's counterproductive to ban an app for engaging that dialect, but at the same time, it can be seen as a possibility for what can come if TikTok for the most part is fully banned in a sense. We can open up that discussion about how to break most people out of these echo chambers and encourage more open discussions on the internet. But I do have to earnestly reflect that sort of conflict, that sort of, I don't know how to describe it, like dilemma, double standard that I just mentioned, because I'm going to get right into the bad of a TikTok ban. First off, just going to rip the Band-Aid off right here. TikTok being banned is very much dangerous for what you consider the creator economy in the sense. I do not care what anybody has to say about, internet jobs not being a real job or making fun of people who make TikToks. People legitimately make money off of this platform, all right? This has changed the lives of many individual creators or even just regular people or small businesses or restaurants and musicians and so many people throughout the realm of entertainment, commerce, general life, that banning an app like this just in its entirety is damaging for what you would consider the creator economy as a whole. It does not benefit really anybody that people have lost another source of income that they would use to pay for potentially college, for mortgages, to support their livelihood, to support themselves, to support their families, their children, their businesses, essentially most of what they love in this life. There is no positive that can be drawn from that element, that the creator economy would be damaged by obviously one of its main central apps being banned. So I will always argue that. Definitely, I would say a second to that is that it sets a very bad precedent for what other apps kind of deserve this treatment. Because I'm not going to lie. If we're going to go after an app like TikTok under the guise of, oh, it's for security, oh, it's to make sure people are protected, oh, it's because this data is getting sent here, there, and here, most apps, a majority of apps, would have been banned years ago for not only having clear and direct cases of data breaches, but data breaches that directly were sold to parties who did not have necessarily universal interest for every American person in mind. Because most probably don't remember this, but does anybody remember that whole Cambridge Analytica scandal a while back when Facebook was directly linked to this questionnaire that was put on the site that people would answer, and it turns out that a company, Cambridge Analytica, was taking that data to give to, let's just call it our soon-to-be big dog leader and his campaign back in 2016. Do we remember that? Would that not be full and complete, indisputed grounds for Meta's entire suite of apps to be terminated? Would that not be fair and just cause? Directly providing data to parties that do not necessarily hold the best interests of every American. Does that not warrant the ground to be banned? I'm not even trying to knock on Meta here. I'm simply asking, if we're going to go after TikTok under the guise of security, then we're going to go after every app for the guise of security. Because I cannot name a single American-developed social media app that has not had similar issues. Meta's whole suite of apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, have had these issues. Snapchat, for years, has had issues with data breaches. Even Twitter, X, whatever you call it, for years has had data breaches, just cases of rampant bots, just if we're going for the security angle, then all apps need to be gone after for the security angle. And then if we're going after it for the sake of saying, oh, just having it, in our country is damaging for the general person to be able to learn this and that about the outside world. Why are we making that a bad thing? For people to be able to learn. Why are we discouraging the general populace from being able to easily access a platform that allows you to learn more about the world, learn more about your country, your leadership, where their heads are at, where these decisions might be leading? There are a lot of developing stories, or even stories that have happened in the past up to now, that have directly gotten all the traction they have because of TikTok. I know some people will always despise the app, but I can always give the app that. People were given the fair and open platform to share matters they felt were important, and they would know that it would find its people. Because you can't do that on Instagram Reels. Sorry to say it, unless you are a very well-established creator on Reels and you know how to game that algorithm, you can't just post something off rip on a fresh account on Reels and expect it to get to an audience. Same with YouTube. I post these videos here because I know one day, when that day comes and all of these pop off, then I'll find that audience. But there's no posting just one video off rip unless you have incredible understanding of the use of algorithm or incredible luck. And there's no real doing that for, same thing with Twitter/X, there's no real doing that for Facebook. There's no real platform like TikTok where press of a button, you can share a short video or a long video even, because they allow up to 10-minute videos on there. Or used to, I don't know, just God, this situation developed so fast. But there's no such platform like TikTok where it is so easy to just share your perspective, your issue, your matters with the world and have them receive it in some way. Not gonna say it's always been for the best, but I'm gonna say it being there for that purpose was always useful. And finally, the definite worst thing I would say about a TikTok ban in general is just that I think, in a sense, it's emblematic of, in general, a weird cycle with social media, and that's that we always gotta lose something. This isn't necessarily as targeted of a point as my others, but it's just unfortunate that we have to lose yet another social platform, because it always seems like we have to lose the really off-kilter and fun one in order to just keep all of the established names running. I know it's been definitely a fateful meme, but Vine, guys, I miss Vine. I really, really do miss Vine. And I was not necessarily a Vine kid. I was more so the Instagram comedy kind of person, like right after Vine died, which I'll get into that whole timeline later. But Vine dying was a very unfortunate thing, because I remember it was bought by Twitter, and since it wasn't making enough money, it was closed down. But all those Vine creators had to go somewhere, because they realized all their platform, all their audience was gone. Losing all of that would have had to have been pretty rough. I'm sure people went through the same thing with Musical.ly, and how building up your audience on there was genuinely such an engaging experience, because for that, lip syncing music videos, pretty cool feature, even for Vine. 6-second videos, pretty cool feature. But Musical.ly eventually obviously got closed down and was merged with TikTok. So people's Musical.lys were converted into TikTok accounts. So I think to see again, after an admittedly similar time frame, give it 4, 5, 6, 7 years, of another platform where it was fun, where people could build communities, where people genuinely had a lot of passion, admittedly, I'd say roughly across the board, for the content that we're making. The fact that a platform like that had to be sacrificed, in a sense, or kind of cut off once again, it definitely is emblematic of a larger thing with social media. It's that even if you have a great feature set, even if you are captivating, even if you are pulling your attention, even if you make money, enough money to change other people's lives as well as keep that company successfully running, it still sometimes won't be enough, because it's always the one that sticks out the most compared to the rest of the crowd that always ends up being the one that goes. And it is really unfortunate. I really do feel bad for the people whose Musical.ly accounts, who converted to TikTok accounts, who have all that content that are just gone. I really do feel genuinely bad for all of the people who make money off of this platform, who use it to support their own livelihoods, who have just lost that. Even for just the general person who'd scroll on there just to have a few minutes of laughter or fun here and there, I feel bad for them too, because that's a source of enjoyment that we no longer have. I even feel bad for the people who hated on the app and used it unironically, which I can't blame you. I was the same. I used to very much dislike the app for a long time, and when pandemic time came around, just hopped on it and really enjoyed using it, seeing cool videos, seeing cool trends. I think I had over 29K videos saved, so not being able to access those right now isn't very much a sad thing. Where am I going with all this as far as the whole middle ground is concerned? If you are watching this, odds are TikTok in the United States no longer works, no longer functions. Service has been shut down. Whether or not it comes back in 2 days, in 3 days, and however many months or years is to be seen. But I will definitely say that no matter what, the TikTok that we all knew for the 7 years, 2018 to 2025, died today, I like to say. Because no matter what way TikTok is brought back, I'm not necessarily going to dig too much into the specifics of how it could be brought back. But it'll always be under a sort of different light comparative to how we saw it in these 7 years. Because it really represented something very powerful, you could argue. TikTok spearheaded a lot of great social movements, a lot of great changes that inspired musicians, a lot of great publicity for restaurants, a lot of great press for small businesses, for businesses in general, for companies who were able to interact with some of their longtime fans or even just share direct messages. It's definitely a platform people just had fun, at least in a couple pockets of it. Obviously, with every social platform, there are those pockets of, certain types of people, but it's bittersweet, I will say. While there could be a lot of good spearheaded by this band, we could take this as a chance to really come together as a social consciousness and evaluate where we are putting our attention towards as far as media consumption, as far as entertainment, as far as value, as far as retention, as far as our attention spans in general, and build upon all of these things. It is also very much a sad case of where we have lost a great source of entertainment, where many people have lost a great source of income, and where all of us as a whole have yet again lost another social platform that provided us with nothing but good times. I would at least hope. So, yeah, that is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the TikTok ban. And if you are watching this today, I'm sure it's been a very rough time for you, but I'm still going to say it. If you're watching this, I love you.